Blaming Kurds for unrest, Iran threatens Iraq with offensive.
Here's a summary of the article.
Baghdad, a senior Iranian military official visiting Baghdad this week threatened Iraq with a ground military operation in the country's north if the Iraqi army does not fortify the country's shared border against Kurdish opposition groups, multiple Iraqi and Kurdish officials said. Iran alleges that Kurdish opposition groups long exiled in northern Iraq are inciting anti-government protests in Iran and smuggling weapons into the country. Iran has blamed foreign meddling for instigating the protests, and has pointed the finger at Kurdish opposition groups in northern Iraq, accusing them of direct involvement and having ties to Israel. If Baghdad did not meet the demands, Iran would launch a military sweep with ground forces and continue to bombard opposition bases, Ghani told his Iraqi counterparts, according to two Shiite political figures, two militia officials and a senior Kurdish official. Kurdish opposition parties said their involvement does not go beyond providing moral support, raising awareness, and helping to provide medical care to injured protesters arriving from Iran. Iraqi security officials have tried repeatedly to persuade Tehran that no weapons are being smuggled from Iraq to Iran, but Iran ignores this, according to a senior Kurdish official who spoke on condition of anonymity in order to speak freely. A sweep operation in northern Iraq, she said, would support the regime's public narrative that outside forces foment the unrest and would address a lingering dispute Iran has had with the semi-autonomous Iraqi Kurdish region about the activities of the groups in its territory.
This post received a score of 3,700, with an upvote ratio of 97%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
Greater than a sweep operation in northern Iraq, she said, would support the regime's public narrative that outside forces foment the unrest and would address a lingering dispute Iran has had with the semi-autonomous Iraqi Kurdish region about the activities of the groups in its territory. Interesting. Safe option for them as well, given that any anti-Kurd operation would be well supported from the Turkish government. Unfortunately,
the U.S. will absolutely not allow Kurdistan to be attacked by Iran under any circumstances. In any case, this would be disastrous to Iran, who would immediately be faced with Kurdish resistance like they've never seen before.
Yes, it would be an invitation by Israel, Saudi and the US to come to Kurdistan aid, destroy Iranian nuclear facilities and legitimize it by protecting freedom in Iraqi Kurdistan.
And due to protests in Iran right now, there'd be little pushback against the war by the US public.
I say we send some encouragement, fuck these folks.
Yay. Only the USA can invade Iraq.
Man, it's like there is a race to see who can be the biggest a-holes, Russia, North Korea or Iran.
Don't forget Qatar coming in hot with the World Cup nonsense.
They're really fucking everything up for the Middle East. They won't get another chance to host something for a long time. Unless they can bribe their way in like they did for the World Cup, of course. IDK lots of other countries will be offering bribes that won't screw the fans and sponsors that have better human rights. Although I wouldn't limit my options to countries with perfect human rights cause that limits you to basically Western Europe and Canada.
Unfortunately, that what might actually force FIFA to pay attention. The no beer thing makes Budweiser's sponsorship much less valuable to them. Investors will not be jumping up and down to throw money at this thing if it's going to be hijacked at the last second by religious fundamentalists.
A foreign war would be useful right now for the Iranian regime. Time-honored method to divert domestic civil and economic problems.
But it can backfire if it goes poorly, as we saw in Argentina in 1982.
Or in Tsarist Russia as we saw in Russia in 1917.
World War I overthrew regimes in multiple countries.
World War I ended the Ottoman, Russian, Austro-Hungarian, and German empires. When people say, no one won World War I, they obviously didn't look at the results. All three of the major Central Powers collapsed. Only one of the three major Allied powers, 4 if you count the US, 5 if you count Japan, collapsed.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.